is iRacing.
Much like the towering Mount Fuji, the threat of rain looms over the track today. Will it stay dry for our competitors? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. You'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Craig King. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Craig, we've got an interesting bit of factors coming in for today's race, so this is going to be a fun one.
Going to be a fun one, but I have to put the damper on right now. No rain. It's looking like a dry race, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun. I see the head pop. We're going to have some fantastic time around what I call a legend of Japanese racing.
Yes, and Fuji was actually the first track to officially host the Japanese Grand Prix, so it fits in with our vintage series. Let's learn a little bit let's learn a little bit more about it here with our track guide. Welcome to Fuji International Speedway. Built right at the foot of the picturesque Mount Fuji and a mere 1.5 hour drive southwest of Tokyo, it certainly resides in a prime location. Having been around since 1967, this place is perhaps most well known for its presence in the classic video game Pole Position. However, its modern incarnation looks nothing like it did back when that game came out in 1982. At just under 3 miles, or 4.5 kilometers, its two layouts have 14 and 16 turns, which is significantly more than what it started with. Without the banking that used to be a part of the first and final corners, its most notable feature nowadays is the front stretch that covers nearly a full mile. The turns that make up the other half of the track make for quite a technical challenge. It includes everything from the long sweeper of 100R to the tight confines of hairpin, to the finicky back and forth of nets. This place hosted Formula One back in the 70s and again in the later 2000s, but has a much stronger history hosting endurance racing. Sports cars are still a heavy staple here. That's not to say open-wheelers don't still call this place home, though. Lower-level formulas, as well as Japan's popular Super Formula, make frequent visits. From humble origins in sim racing's history to arriving 40 years later on iRacing, Fuji has been a fan favorite for a long, long time. Well, they still, without the rain, will have quite a challenge on their hands, Craig. That long main straight, that is a major feature here.
It is the longest straight, or one of the longest straights in motorsport. 1.475 kilometers. That is just under a mile in length, and it can provide a lot of chances for drivers. But of course, then you have to navigate the track, and the start of the track is kind of like how it used to be when they came here in the 70s. You've got that run down into the first corner, Daichi, as they say, followed into the Coca-Cola, which is a little bit slower compared to the classic days. And then you've got the iconic 100R that had provided a lot of issues for drivers earlier in the week, and then the hairpin, all this high-speed section, what Fuji is known for before hard braking. But then you get into the Tilka design end there, and the key thing here, Dunlop is not chicane today, no chicane today, so that's going to provide a lot of fast right-handers there. You get to net, you get up into that tight section, it slows everything down. Got something for everyone here today, but everybody, they prefer the old days when it was just all speed out there.
Exactly. Sadly, we can't get to that version quite, but this is still a tough one that will provide some fun out there. Now, in the championship, we've got Pauli Partanen still up on the top of things, and it is by a 68-point margin. That is by no means safe, but Togo Hisada has more in his drop weeks than we see for Peli Partonen. That said, Peli Partonen's drop week is 105 points, so he's still sitting very well right now. We've only got these 2 rounds to go. From there, you can count pretty much everybody else behind out from championship hopes, but still could see some swapping around between Jack David Spickett and Jacob Reed, who have both been very quick this season. And then you've got some great battles between 7th and 8th Martinez and Freckleton, only split by a mere 3 points coming into 2 rounds to go. That is the F1 standings. Let's take a look at the F2 battle, which has been a bit one-sided.
It's been very one-sided, and with neither of the top 2 here. And in fact, I'm looking, there is a Kurt Clapper, but mathematically it looks like Josephine Becker has become the first female driver to win a Formula Championship in the Lotus 79s. And what a drive it's been for her this season, with 3 amazing results in a row, Monza, Barber, and Watkins, and then just basically took a bit of a break. She's only had 6 races counted this season. You need 8 to have a full quota, and she's managed to get that done. Jason Kraviak is going to be trying to hang on to Kurt Clapper, but of course he's not here today, so drop weeks will be interesting there. Moreira is well. They're tied with Thomas Tuber, who is also there. You look at them, Miguel Morland, Barry West, Gord Janot, Matthew Cockerham, all so close. But the key thing today, Gio, this is a single split. So a lot of these points are going to be very tough to get for the F2 drivers because they are racing against the top guys.
Exactly. And they do have a teams championship as well that they run here, TVR Racing, currently up at the top of that one with a single driver continuing to hold the torch. Dylan Freckleton really outperforming. Meanwhile, we've got Alfa Romeo trailing by only 24 points. They do it a little bit different points-wise in terms of scoring here. So that is still close, but not necessarily as close as it would be if this was the Drivers' Championship. And then it's a big drop-off down to Team Lotus there in 3rd for your top 3 in the team's standings. Real quick, Craig, why don't you run us through what today's race is going to look like?
Well, it's the penultimate race of the season, round 11, and they are going to have 25 laps around here at Fuji today, just under 90-second lap time, so that gives you guys an idea of how long we will be. And it is open setup, so make your own setup, bring what you want to, use what the community provides, and Peli Partonen & Co. have provided some fantastic setups for the community, but if you crash, you are done for the day. There is no spare car. So be careful out there. Drive-through will be at 17 incident points. Disqualification at 25. Might see the flirting of 17 with how big the field is. Won't be seeing anyone close to that 25 mark.
Yeah, they do have a lot of those paved runoff areas since this is the modernized version of the track. So it will be one where drivers have to kind of mind themselves and not go over those track limits. Let's not forget that we've also got a special sale going on here on iRacing with the Black Friday deal currently going until December 2nd. You have a couple more days available, but not many. 50% off if you are a new member, and then if you're already on, it's still worth renewing. 25% off. That's the biggest deal you're going to get all year long. So make sure and take advantage of iRacing's Black Friday deal until December 2nd. So with qualifying just about over here, about a minute left, most drivers have set a time. Byron Long seems to be the only one that has failed to put one in. But Andy T is the standout, and longtime viewers, Craig, will be familiar with Andy T. But I think it's actually been a couple years since we've seen Andy come back and race here. So this is kind of a blast from the past.
We're going to have to look around to see because, yeah, that's some stats we may need to dig into. Been a long time to see that name up there. The number 25 just coming around just to end. That's Ben Summers. We just saw, as we went live, Jack David Spickett throwing that car into 5th. So we have a stacked top 5 and a very, very tough top 10 as we get ready to go. And it's a very foggy day out there.
All right, so your grid is now lining up out on that long start-finish straight. and it's going to be led by Andy T on the pole. Topi Kortiniemi is going to be in second today, with Togo Hisada starting from third. Pauli Partonen will be to his outside, as JDS will be in fifth, and he's got Gabri Martinez next to him in row 3. Gernot Friesche down in seventh today. See if he can climb up the order from there. Luke Tunison will be in eighth, with Karthik Pai in ninth, and Dylan Freckleton will round out your top 10.
And the area will be in 11th. Next beside will be Andreas Schuster. Aaron Blair will take unlucky 13th, with Timothy Reed in 14th. Then Christopher Lesajak will be in 15th, with Michael Taylor in 16th, followed by Keith Herner and Kurt Clapp at 17th and 18th. Andrew Dixon will be 19th, and Art Karts rounds out your top 20.
Borja Cineros is going to be starting from 21st, with Shervin Samari in 22nd. Gord Janot, P23 for him, flanking Thomas Tuba. Alex Rask will start 25th, followed by regular Barry West in 26th position. Then it's Miguel Moreland on the inside of row 14. Thomas Villershausen will be in 28th, Zen Carr 29th, and Ben Summers 30th. I'll just wrap these up as Henry Verumaki starts 31st. Bill Nizamis will be 33rd. Let me order my cars here. 32nd, rather, out there. And then you've got Todd Herner, 33rd, Stephen Koenig, 34th, and Byron Long in 35th today. The only driver failing to set a time for today's race. It might be mercifully dry, but it is still a challenge down into turn 1, where everybody is going to have to make sure that they get their braking points right and don't trip over each other. The lights are up. The engines are starting to rev. And it's a long hold for this one, a very long hold, as the green flag is finally out. Andy T is out of practice for his starts. He is not off the line well. He's already slipped down into third position. Hisada has to back out of it to try not to run in, as Partonen is going to dive way too deep into the corner. He goes out to the outside as all cars avoiding action. Someone almost getting tripped over, and that may have been Andy T.
Got out there, though, isn't it, Joe? It's just fantastic. Not good for Andy T. Lots of drivers making some moves out there as well. We've got a few drivers in the background but T is having struggles. We talked about it's been a while since we've seen him. I think one of the things that's been catching him out is the tires. He cannot get these tires up to temperature right away, and already he is losing out. He's down into 5th position. Hard charger Stephen Koenig's up 10 places. A lot of drivers at the front going, but we have had a big crash in the back. Tineros, Moreland, and Samari all taking a tow, as the drivers are now just holding on. Lesajak is well up 6 now, getting past Dylan Freckleton.
Looking frantic here is Freckleton sitting in 10th, coming up into that infield section now at the end of the lap, up past Nets and into Panasonic. This is going to be the crucial corner, almost 3 wide coming into there. Somebody, it looks like maybe Karthik Pai, is going to be able to pick the pocket of 3 separate cars.
You got to pick a pocket or 2. And I think Tennyson is also just getting hold up here. You see everyone now trying to find a way. Dylan Freckleton, has he pulled out a bit too early here? Going 3 wide isn't exactly too exciting, but are we going to see 4? Carter's going to find the line. He's going to take it 4 wide. We've only just started lap 2, boys. Take it easy. Pai breaks late. Freckleton breaks late. He will take it. He wins the battle. Joe, they've got to calm down a little bit here. This is only lap 2.
Oh, my goodness. They heard a dry track and they figured, we can have some fun today. They're going to go 3 wide up into Coca-Cola once again. They'll make it through Karthik Pai, though. He loses 3 spots because of that. As behind them, let's not forget they've got Barrera, Schuster also involved. Now it's up through 100R. This is going nuts at the beginning. Somehow Freckleton still leads them, as Tunison is still fighting with Christoph.
Yeah, Tunison now have to deal with Christoph Freckleton. Not the best of qualifying for him, but he is doing fantastic. And behind these guys, you've got Andreas Schuster looking for opportunities. And everyone's been bunched up here. And it's such a tough place to be bunched up when you've got drivers going that mad. But you've got to give the respect there. Pai thought he could take it into 4 wide going down into Daiichi. And then he realized this was not worth it and backed out of it. Sometimes you've just got to accept it. And early days of these drivers, they need to utilize the straight here to catch back up, because they're already 3 seconds behind the lead group. And I say the lead group because Topi Kortiniemi is now 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. These guys are 3 seconds off Gernot Friesche.
Yeah, Friesche running in 7th with a pack of about 6 cars, it looks like, in his group. Andy T, as we take a look at that little pack, is going to get past Martinez. And you made a good point at the start. I don't think T has been around since the change of the tires and sort of the rebirth of this series. His drivers really fell in love with this. Once again, he has a big slide coming out of Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I think it's just starting to hinder him a little bit because now he's just calmed down a bit. He's got the speed, and he's trying to catch up to Jack Davis Pickett and Togo Hisada. But behind him is that Gabriel Martinez, who will be aggressive to try and make the move. So Andy needs to try and catch up, get that slipstream back that these two are providing. But you can just see as you hit down into Dunlop here, look at this difference now. It is a fast right-hander, and it just means that you can almost set yourself up here. Jack, it's not Togo's home track, but it is his home country. He knows his track like the back of his hand almost, not like Suzuka. You got to be careful. But Gabri, he's going to look for every way possible. Don't be surprised to see some of these drivers do a little over-under going into Panasonic.
And maybe using a little bit of leapfrogging if you're Partanen, Hisada, Spickett. Remember, they got to catch up to Kortaniemi. The Finn, like you mentioned, has absolutely run off here at the beginning. Togo on board with him, looking back at Spickett, has got 170 miles an hour. It's just about enough to hold ahead of the Pepsi cars behind them. Andy T and Martinez going to go wheel to wheel, being chased by Freesia, who cannot quite capitalize on it.
No, can't capitalize at the moment, and that's the nature of Daichi there. Then you go into turn 2 because it's a very tight corner, and you do have a bit of runoff, but there's also a little bit of a sausage curve, a little bit of a rumble strip there on the runoff there at the exit of the first corner. So you have to be a little bit careful not to go too deep. If you go too deep, you can salvage what you have, but then that run down into Coca-Cola is really tough out there. You can see Andy, he is struggling. The hairpin, it's a hairpin, but it's more like a left-hander that just goes full throttle right away. And Gabri did indeed look for it, but you can see some of these corners throwing Andy off, maybe the characteristics of the new car, the new tires. Well, they're about a year old now almost, but he is struggling out there. Do wonder if it is also just a little bit of track familiarization, because again, when was the last time we saw Andy? I don't think Fuji was around when Andy was racing last.
Oh, that's another good point. Yeah, I think you may be correct on that one. I've got to try and dig this up to see how long it's been since Andy has last participated, or at least the region of time since we last saw him. Gernot Freesia has got a nice double toe as Andy T still hunts, or excuse me, Martinez hunts Andy T rather. And they're going to go 3 wide. Oh, lots of dicing late move from Martinez. That throws a wrench in things for Freesia. He could maybe cut back underneath. Great run by Gabri, and he might have the inside just barely coming into Coca-Cola. T's going to have to give him some room. He does, but he holds on around the outside, which switches to the inside of 100R.
Now you have to do a little bit of braking here. Wait to get back on the throttle. You have to really be aggressive. And Gabri's more aggressive, getting on that throttle. I think because he was able to just have that wider burst, and you can see, gets on that throttle well, counter steers on that little slide. And now Andy has to go aggressive. He knew the pressure was on, and Gabri really likes to put the pressure on when he's behind a driver. And I think sometimes the egg has to crack. And I'm also looking up ahead. Jack Davis Pickett is having to serve a slowdown. So that's going to bring him back into it. It's Henry Virmaki. Remember, we've got 31 cars still driving out there, and this is at the back of the field, and they are still struggling in their battles.
So of the dates provided on our stats, the last time I'm seeing we had Andy T was 2019 potentially, maybe into 2020. It's been a long time, that is for sure. So nearly half a decade. Andreas Schuster in the meantime, he's fighting with Michael Taylor. Taylor, who does not have the speed, gets easily overtaken, and so move Andreas up to 13th.
Yeah, Andreas not having the best of starts, already down 2. Trying to see if he can get past the Isle of Man native to just hold on, but the outside is a little bit strong today with, I think, due to the cold temperatures, 20 Celsius track temp, 68 Fahrenheit. It is the middle of the day sim time, but with that threat of rain in the forecast and with the humidity dropped here at 94%, can provide a little bit of interesting moments when it comes to downforce, when it comes to the power. Remember, you're on an elevation here. You can see Mount Fuji in the distance there. Fantastic. Nice timing there, Christian, with the mountain. As you can see, Timothy Reed just needing to just hold on, try to get throttled down. But this is the corner that I have been very surprised at, Joe, at the hairpin. Some of the drivers just not able to open the throttle out and coast out to the rumble strip as you want to. They're almost sacrificing corner exit speed there by trying to keep it too tight.
Or it could be some of the downforce levels that we're seeing out of cars. Remember, you want that straight line speed for the main straight, as I don't know how much time you'd be able to make on the other half to try and pull away. It has been brave from Reed as he really stuck it into the turn one down at Daiichi. Let's see if Freesia is brave up against Andy T. Now, these two will absolutely be familiar with one another, as Gernot has been around so long. He's part of the furniture at this stage. But I think T's got a big slipstream off of Martinez on top of things that prevents Gernot from managing to get involved down to the inside. Gabri gives some space at the apex, but he'll hold on to P5.
I think Gernot's wanting Andy to make some moves here because he knows if Andy makes the move here on Gabri may crack a little bit, and that allows Gernot to get on by. You look at it, Gernot and Andy, two legends of the Lotus 79s, and Gernot had more races and more wins than anybody. And I think when you look at it, to say how good and how strong Gernot was, Andy, well, you're looking at possibly a third of the wins that Gernot had. And Andy has about 60 wins himself, so, or 30 to 60 wins. So that just gives you an idea. But a mistake there from Andy again at the hairpin. And maybe you're right, Joe. Maybe it is just a bit of downforce here, because with this ground effect car, you should be able to get on the throttle out of the hairpin, get super aggressive there. I know if you don't want to run too much over the curb, you'll lose some of that downforce, but at the same time, he's really struggling here, and I wonder if it's not a setup issue, but maybe he's not used to setting this type of car up now with the tire changes. We're looking at all the permutations here. It could just be just a little bit of ring rust.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll shake it off soon enough if he keeps coming back, but he and Gernot going to go at it once again this time. And that looked like a lift. He allowed him by. So Freesia now up into P6, so T knows the game. I think the big thing, even though you mentioned that T has far fewer wins, you got to consider the strike rate. Andy T's win percentage versus how many at times he's entered a race, 47%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. And when we go and look at the Triple Crown, that T's made a mistake. We're watching Barry West having his little battle. We'll probably look at this with Wellhausen as they keep on going. You look at that. Jamie Fluke in 2020 is the only man to do the Triple Crown. He said with the standard of driving in the Lotus 79s, it was the race he had to practice for the most. And that's an esports driver. So in all three races, only he's done that. The Lotus 79s, the 49s, and an IMSA Vintage race. And you've got to think that at that stage in the 2020, Andy would have probably just started to wind down his iRacing career. You've got Topi still there. You've got Gernot Racing. Pauli's just coming in. That's a real stacked field. And that just goes to show that he is struggling out there as Ben Summers continues on himself.
Yeah, he's in a three-way fight with Art Karts and Byron Long. Sounds like we might have a replay on that opening incident now that things have settled a little bit. So this is Andrew Dixon. And, car's just tangling as it's not a completely straight run coming up towards Coca-Cola. And that forced everybody to scatter. Thankfully, it looked like a lot of the field was very heads up in that situation and just managed to avoid making it a bigger pileup.
Yeah, and I think that was also just goes to show that lap one effect, because we saw the free wide a little bit as Art's Karts there, just trying to almost bait out a pit stop maneuver there. Well, there's a little bit of a chicane there, Art. You can't really bait a pit stop maneuver here in a sprint race either, but he may allow Ben to go around the outside here, but Ben's gone a bit too wide. Because of the elevation change there, the wide line there at Daiichi, it flattens out and then goes down. You don't have that almost near camber-like effect that the elevation change gives you, and I think that caught Ben out. It is possible to go around the outside, but you got to kind of put yourself in the middle of the track to make that more so than trying to do it around the outside. So Ben will have another go, but it was interesting to see Art right away had a mistake at Panasonic and decided, I'm going right to the wall right away. I'm a little bit worried about this draft.
Checking back in with Christoph now. Freckleton no longer our leader of that group. It's Andy T. So he's fallen off of Gernot Freesia and has suddenly now been caught up by the second pack. The Polish driver hunting down our current team points leader, Dylan Freckleton, but Freckleton himself is hunting Andy T. He's going to go down the inside of Daiichi. Can he get it woed up? Oh, they're going to make a little bit of contact. T loses 2 spots instead.
Yeah, I think Freckleton went a bit too aggressive there and tried to lock it down and just slid a little bit, and Andy gave him the room. But sometimes when you're sliding, there isn't the room there. And Andy just still not having a good reintroduction to the Lotus 79s. And again, it's just a standard. Look at the names you've got up here at the moment. And these are guys that, if you watch any of the other vintage races during a weekend, these are the guys you normally see up there. Maybe not the Topi Kortenemi, the Pauli Partanen, or the Gunnar Friesche, but everyone else around here are basically the telltale names of vintage racing around here now on the sim. And it's really tough to just dive back in and think you got the pace, but the pace is there, the racecraft as well. Things have changed, as you can see Freckleton now having to really be defensive here against Aleta Jack, trying to rekindle their battles from earlier, and then a slide from Christoph. I think some drivers are getting a little bit too toe happy here, Joe, because that's a few slides on the throttle I've seen.
Maybe just a hair greedy from some of them. T pulling off to the inside, trying not to give the toe to Tunison. Oh, he's coming into pit lane. Did he not fuel it enough, I wonder? This is very odd.
I wonder if he's got damage. I wonder if damage from that little hit has just caused him to just think about that. I don't see any, noticeable damage on that car, but for all we know, there could be something that's just affecting.
I don't see a black and orange flag being shown for him.
Yeah, he's got a damaged wing. He has a damaged wing, Joe.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so he kind of knew he was a sitting duck. He's going to maybe try and see if he can get that fixed and get back out there, but it'll cost him quite a few positions. Meanwhile, Ben Summers here, who we check back in with, is going to stay just ahead of Virumaki, but now behind Byron Long, who's managed to sneak by him while we weren't looking.
Yeah, and I think Art's just sorry there, so I think something may have happened between these drivers. Henry Virumaki still battling on. And remember I was saying about how it looks like that we do have that battle going on for the F2. Well, ahead of these cars is Kurt Clapper and Kurt managed to pull ahead, and these guys still looking for their own little battles. Most of these guys F2 drivers, and this is the thing I was talking about. Because of the way the race is, normally your race is, if you're in a second split, it's whoever gets the times by the fastest average lap. So whoever comes across the line first in your race, and that's how you judge the points between the splits. Well, if you've got all in one split today, you're going to have a little bit of issue trying to make up a lot of points. So some of these F2 drivers, that they're probably only at best going to get a 15th or 14th unless there's incidents. So like Thomas Wilhausen will have to settle for 20th points out here today. Whereas if it was 2 splits here, Joe, you'd be looking at possibly some of these drivers in the F2 getting a bit up the road, as we see Barry West once again. Don't miss seeing the TV, what we see from Barry, but always love to see the whole rig in action.
Exactly, and how he just steers himself into the corner eye, trying to find the apex, as he is going to stay ahead of Willershausen. By the way, you mentioned that sorry from is a big moment for Barry West. Is going to go a little bit off track. That's going to lose him the spot, and there goes Thomas up into 20th, but at least he's still running this race. But Karts and Long, you mentioned that Karts gave a little bit of a sorry. The 2 made contact, and on the front stretch, not into the corner. So that was probably a scary moment for both of them.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just one driver trying to react to, trying to predict what the other one's doing and did it at the wrong point, as Topi continues to go fast. And what a season it's been for Topi Kortenemi. He didn't come at the start of the season, but look at the wins. He's had 2 wins this season. Oh no, is that Friesche and Spickett having a touch together? That almost came together on the start straight as well, and they've almost just racked in together here. I think again a little bit of communication breakdown. Spickett is still trying to fight it here. It's actually Gabriel Martinez, sorry, not Spickett. It's Friesche and Martinez.
Exactly, and we saw Martinez have a bit of a sketchy race last time out at Aragon, where things got very fierce between himself and Freckleton. He's in it once again. Here's the contact between Long and Karts, just trying to come down to the racing line and realized he maybe went a little bit too far. I mean, great job by Long to keep that car from winding up in the wall.
Great job as well. And look at this. Friesia deciding might be better. I don't have the run here. And Martin has had a bit of the run. He decides to go for that at the moment. I'm just keeping my eyes up. Thankfully, they did come together. Don't see any signs of major damage there. Similar to what happened to Andy T there. He spent a minute 30 cone to cone in the pit, so he came back out, but it's a few positions behind. I think he'll be relearning the car. As have a look at this replay again. This is Ben Summers just trying to. Oh, he locked up there, and I think that was him trying not to outbrake somebody and just missing his button. Oh, no. Oh. And I see that, unfortunately, that's a lot of smoke as well. Thankfully, the engine's running, though.
Well, it worked out until it didn't, I guess you could say, for poor Ben. I thought that was a great job avoiding what may have been a massive accident, but somebody clattered into the side of him as they exited out of the corner. Back to Friesia and Martinez. Gabri's starting to run away a little bit, so Gernot back to 6, not looking like he has the pace. Hopefully we don't have more damage between these cars as well. An unusual amount of contact today.
Unusual amount. Like, if it was raining, I would possibly say, yeah, contact. It happens in wet racing, but this isn't a wet race today. Let's have a look at another replay as well when we're just talking about that. Contact is contact, and this is Aaron Blair. He's going to have his own moment of contact here. In fact, this is what happened with Ben. Comes around, and I hate to say it, that's an unsafe rejoin by Summers there. I can understand why he was trying to get back up there, but yeah, that to me just looked a little bit too ambitious to make that move.
Yeah, it seemed like Blair was committed to the corner, unfortunately, and by the time both were at the exit, there was no avoiding the incident. Meanwhile, Virumaki really hassling Art Karts at this stage. This is for 24th position right now. Karts down 4 from where he started, but Henry, he is up 6 with a very handy day for his F2 points. No doubt as they come up into the braking of that swift right-hander of Dunlop. He gains a lot of time. Now he's becoming a serious threat coming into the switchback, climbing up the hill. Remember, if you get a good exit onto the main straight, you find yourself set up well for a pass into Daiichi.
Yeah, it's so many different lines here coming out at the final corner. And you can see that Virumaki, he tried to turn in, but then got to the throttle a bit too early there to look for a move. We got to look as well, picture in picture, Timothy Reed trying to just hold on these battles, and this is up the field as well. Timothy Reed sitting in 13th, Andreas Schuster in front of him, and Andy T is the third car here, who is a lap down, so he's just going to be going ahead as Virumaki. Good here today, up 6 places. Hardest charger, Byron Long, up 12 places. Give a shout out as well to Stephen Koenig, up 7. Zenkar up 10. Gorjanot and Tuber also up 7, as you see. Todd Herner now up near the back of the field, trying to just get something going there, battling Steve Koenig. And Steve, he's up 7, but unfortunately everybody else behind, and we have had a lot of retirement so far.
Do have a few drivers that are doing well compared to what their iRating marks. Luke Tennyson, rated 20th, is sitting in 8th. Topi Kortinemi, though, he's got the number 2 on his car, but he's been running number 1 all day long. Partanen was not able to make up more than those 2 spots at the beginning and is still about 4 seconds behind. You can just see glances of him in the background, although I think that may be a lap car that we saw on those recent camera shots. Meanwhile, Paoli's a little bit more worried about what's behind because it is Togo Hisada who is on top of him, and Togo is the one fighting with Paoli for the championship.
And I'm just looking, I see damage. I don't think we can just pick it out there. I see scrape marks on the front wing there of Togo Hisada, and I don't see it on Partanen. Now, that wouldn't cause downforce issues here or grip issues here for Hisada, but it does make you wonder, is there something else in play today? You have to look at the see when we come to the start line here to see what the speeds are, and well, they are matching each other, and it does feel like Togo still had a little bit of the slipstream. Yeah, slipstream is working, but it's not strong, Joe. It's only about 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, so only about 3 miles an hour there. So they're really trimming this car out, or, dare I say it, again, runs over the bumps there at turn 1. Maybe he's just picking up damage with the car a bit too low.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is he could have maybe struck a curb somewhere that damaged that part of the wing. You notice it's on the very outside of it. So, yeah, it could be possible, as Steven Kernick has had some issues somewhere. Oh, he has a spin coming out of nets. The car behind, thankfully, his heads up, avoids being collected.
In the traditional Murray walkaway, he spun his car almost 180 degrees. Well, it's over 300, almost 360 degrees out there today as Togo Hisada, Pauli Partonen have lap traffic in front of them. But when it comes to the championship, I feel that Partonen will be happy with this. Topi is on another level once again. And you've got to think, if Topi could do a whole season again, what could Topi do? If is a very good thing. Is whoa! Casada goes around the outside. Partonen has to take the slowdown. A little bit of a mistake there. That was the lap car, just causing an issue for everybody.
Was he allowed to go out there? That's the question. No, he is not. Hisada has a slowdown of his own. He has to give the time back. And so both of them having a little bit of trouble. They're going to go wheel to wheel, coming down into the first corner, but it's too deep for Pauli. Again, championship implications here as Togo is trying hard to chase him down in the points. It is a long ways behind, but he is now ahead. Or no, excuse me, that was the lap car that Togo was going by. Pardon me.
It was a lap car. I think the lap car was trying to get out of the way, not knowing that Togo had to serve the slowdown. And I think with how wide Togo went, he had a big slowdown to do, but he did that for avoidance purposes. And now Freckleton getting past Tennyson here, trying to battle, and Kartik Pai's right there. Every time you look at the back of the top 10, Kartik Pai is there really trying to put a spatter in people's works here. But he's going to have to do this the hard way, and a bit of a slide there from Freckleton as he comes through the hairpin. Again, interesting line by some of these drivers around the hairpin today, but it's just so tight. Let's look at the replay quickly as we see them come into Dunlop, and I think this is Andreas Schuster right here. He's going to hit down. This is Timothy Reed, and they're going to come together. And that's the problem with that corner, Joe. With that blind run up by 100R, you really want to get on the throttle to try and make an outbraking maneuver to make an overtake into the hairpin. It's so tough, and yeah, you can't go wide. Like, I think that's what happened to Schuster.
Just a little over-ambitious trying to make that pass, unfortunately. As we continue to watch from Pai, Luke up ahead of him. Again, just an amazing job from the Dutchman, and is maybe not going to stay in this 8th spot for long. He's going to defend coming down into the first corner. Kartik Pai is going to have his work cut out for him going a long way around, but he's deeper on the brakes. Luke has the traction off the turn despite it being the shallower line. He'll retain that P8.
Shallower line, but remember the elevation change does help a little bit there with almost a camber-like effect. So that's going to allow Luke to really just make the shallow line work, because I think Pai, he had the right idea. He started turning in before the hill starts, the elevation change starts. But I think it was just a bit too much there and could not get that downforce working. Going to have to do it all again, but now Luke knows that he can defend on the inside. So he knows that he just has to get a good run out of Panasonic to really use that to his advantage to just hold up high. And sooner or later, they're going to be losing out to Freckleton, because that lightning purple TBR inspired livery is starting to pull a little bit ahead here. And I feel Luke he's just in the tow. But for how long can he keep that tow? Once again, Kurtanemi going faster. And this is what happened to Togo Hisada as we go picture in picture. This was the moment he saw. Yeah, he knew straight away that was a slow parted, and he had to take an avoided reaction.
Exactly, and it was the lesser of two evils probably in that situation, but that is one of those areas where if you go out beyond the track limits, it will hand you a slowdown. So he's unfortunately suffered from that one and is now about 1.3 seconds behind. That's going to be hard to make up this late in the race, but not impossible, as Pai continues to stay on the number 20 wall. Like you said, Dylan Freckleton is loving this. He's now about 8/10 beyond that pair.
Yeah, he pulled 4/10 on Luke last lap and almost 6/10 there on Kartik Pai as the number 6 car of Pi really struggling out there today. It's interesting to see as well. This is Luke Tennyson. He is a 2K driver, kind of like Zencar here. It's a lower iRacing driver, 2.7K, and he's meshing it up with the top 10. Zencar at the moment, who hails from Antarctica, would probably need to be a little bit cooler for him to enjoy it out there, battling with Barry West out there. And I can't remember the last time Barry tried to battle someone who hailed from the Antarctica, but he's himself, after that mistake earlier, is keeping it cool, calm, and collected. But look at the neck. Look where he's looking to look for this corner. If it was me, I'd be looking right again. His rear back, he's gone off. I think he's had an issue out there.
Corrections from Barry West is, the fin, unfortunately, into the wall in a bit of an unusual place. Let's see if we can try and figure out what happened there. Black flag for Bill Nizame. So I wonder if it was involved with him. But we'll try and unravel that a little bit later. In the meantime, Barry still running in that 19th position, just ahead of him in 17th. Schuster's got to run on Tuba now. The 19 can't do much to try and defend. It's better straight line speed for Andreas. He's got a nose ahead as they come down the hill now into the braking of Daiichi. Coming back at him, Thomas able to use that side draft to try and cut into some of the speed of the number 12, and then tries to undercut him, but no dice. Andreas is going to hold on to 16th.
No dice at Daiichi. We had 2 battles there. Gorgonot and Timothy Reed, then Andreas Schuster and Thomas Tuba. And basically the same thing happened to both of them. We had a little bit of 2x2 going down the start line. Very interesting. But again, if you're the man in front, why are you not defending that inside line? The straight is big enough to make overtake today, but these drivers are unable to. And I think, again, they're trimming out the car with so much that the moment you pull out of that slipstream, that you hit a wall of speed, and you've got to do something like Ben Summers has tried to do here and wait to the last moment to just pull out there. And that was very smart there. Got past the start-finish line before he looked to pull out on Alex, using all the speed possible. And that, if the drivers could see it, but with 4 to go, I don't think they really would see it. That's how you do make that move. A little bit of food for thought next time we come to Fuji.
Meanwhile, Topi Kortsanimi is now up to 6 seconds ahead of Parton, and definitely been outpacing him for pretty much this entire race. But again, I think Pauli's main concern, stay ahead of Togo, try to seal the championship. And I'm not sure, I might have to check with the drop points. Finishing ahead of him here today might just do that, prevent him from losing it in the final round. Again, not confirmed, as Timothy Reed again involved in issues, and I think that's with Gorgonot, the Canadian, having trouble getting the car facing the right way.
Yeah, just for that information when it comes to it, remember, Parton has taken 2 drop weeks, one of them being a 0 pointer, one being 105. Regardless of this, he would only be losing, we'd be gaining points at the moment, I feel. So I think that could be all it is for Parton if he stays ahead of Hisada. Gorgonov just taking a bit too much speed there, it looks like, and the car's already sliding away. And the moment that rear goes, that's it for the car. You've got to really do something to try and hold it, but that's unfortunate. We'll get the standing, we'll get that officially confirmed, but as Schuster continues on, more battles, just because the championship might be over, in quotation marks, doesn't mean you stop racing, as Thomas Tuba would love to get past Andreas Schuster, but he is struggling out there because Schuster gets to tow a Timothy Reed.
Well, I mean, based on his birthday win in the 49s, Togo knows you never give up. You just don't know what's going to happen, and you could be surprised by a victory. Luke here still trying to catch back up to Freckleton. It was up to 8 tenths, now down to only 3 tenths of a second between them. And actually, that's Gernot Friesche, I'm pretty sure. They've run down the number 5. That's surprising.
Oh, the number 5. I was going to say, he's not 5th today. He's 6th. He's not been having the day out of it. But again, remember he had that contact with Gabriel Martinez. I didn't see anything on the car, but it makes you wonder. But he's only 4 tenths slower than Gabri last time by. So maybe it's just him just not getting the best of luck through the traffic or not getting the consistency down. But the Austrian really struggling. It would be a great result today for Dylan Freckleton to get into 6th. I don't think he'd be able to get a top 5, but to go +4 for the day would be fantastic, but he's got to make sure he doesn't bring Tennyson and Pie to the party, because they would love a piece of the pie right now, but I think they're a bit too far out, and I'm starting to see the sun try and creep out right now.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's been so hazy out today. Very, very humid. I mean, there's a good shot to illustrate it. And as Karthik Pai is going to pop out to the outside, Luke having to go on the defense despite catching up to those ahead is successful this time and still retains that P8.
Keeps hold onto that P8. There's a little bit of a development. Riera, who is running pretty well today, has dropped due to some internet connection issues. I think he was running just outside the top 10, and that's unfortunate for him, as that's a slow car there. That's Koenig letting everybody by. Sees the battle up ahead and decides it's not worth the hassle. Let's let them fight, and let them fight indeed. This is one of our best battles as well in the field. In fact, there's only a handful of battles out there right now. Hisada trying to catch up to Partonen, and there is Partonen and Hisada, and I believe that Partonen getting it is. He's getting a small toe there. That's not what Hisada wants. He needs to get ahead of Partonen to have any chance of a championship.
Here's the question, though. Is he going to get by that lapped car before the end of the straight? And I'm going to wager it's a no, because he stays ahead. That is Art Karts up in front of him, which could mean this could be a slight holdup for Pauli. That's what Togo needs right now, is maybe traffic to create just a bit of complication here, and it looks like it might, as Karts is still not pulling out of the way. Now, he is not obligated to. It is informational only that he gets those blue flags. And yes, Togo Hisada is suddenly there.
Yeah, it's informational, but some of the community, they do like to give that respect, and the blue flag's there, and they do like to pull over. And of course, one of the things as well in the racing, if you know there's a battle up behind you and you're not battling anybody, it usually is tying a little bit of etiquette there to just let them go. But it's happened, it's done, it's over. Hisada now with 1 lap to go, well, almost 1 lap to go, as Kortenemi's here. He needs a little bit of action here, but I think it's going to be all for naught.
Oh, he could slipstream past him at the line, though. That's the bad news for Pauli Partonen. This is going to be close. He takes a little bit of a look to try to get him off the racing line. He manages to get to the inside, but that may have scuppered him as we go to Topi Kortenemi, who takes his 3rd win of the season here at Fuji. And behind, yeah, I think Togo may have made a wrong move there, as Pauli will beat him to the line. It was ambitious. If I was Togo, I think I would have tried to maybe leapfrog him down until the finish. Speaking of which, here we go with this group.
Yeah, Dylan Freckleton's going to try and do it, hit the long start-finish line. And Gunnar, I don't think he's got anything. He'll push as hard as he can, but that's going to be all for naught. They actually come across the line, tied, and Dylan Freckleton gets it by the barest of margins. It is just under 100, just over 100. I want to say it's 0.011 is the gap there between the two of them, as Byron Long just coming across the line. 20 cars will be on the lead lap here, and Byron Long's going to be the last man against Zen Car, and they've managed to get away. They couldn't get past Barry West. Barry managing to pull ahead of these, but I do wonder right now, that is it. And they are talking about this as well. Is that going to be the championship for Pauli Partonen? Toby apparently can still win the championship, but we're going to get to this battle.
Yeah, I guess because the drop weeks, the sudden late wins are helping him out. Let's see who wins this one to the line between Zen Car and Byron Long. Zen, I think, does not have the speed. It's going to be tight. Look at the toe. Byron pops out, but I think he was just shy by 0.5 of a second. So close yet so far. And Zen will hold on to that 19th spot. Woof, we got a wild one today here. The sun may be shining in our B-roll, but it certainly wasn't on the race itself, as it was cloudy and hazy and full of chaos. Topi Kortenemi was above it all with the win, and Pauli Partonen was in second, just ahead of Togo Hisada. The gap about 1/4 of a second between them in the end. Jack David Spickett off the podium, but still with 4th. Gabri Martinez getting feisty today with a 5th place, and Dylan Freckleton holding on to that P6, just ahead of Gernot Friesche right at the finish. Luke Tunison was P8, Karthik Pai 9th, and Christoph Olenacek was in 10th.
In 11th, Michael Taylor, who was up 5 places, as was Keith Herner, who finishes in 12th. And Andreas Schuster, the first man to lose spots today, in 13th, with Timothy Reed in 14th. Then up 9 places to 15th for Thomas Tuber, 2 for Kurt Clapper in 16th, 9 again for Barry West. A lot of people making places up here today. Thomas Wilhausen up 10 into 18th, Zenkar up 10 into 19th, and a hard charger on the lead lap, last man on the lead lap, up 15 places for Byron Long in 20th.
Started from last on the field. Art Karts came home in 21st with Ben Summers 22nd, and it's Gord Janot in 23rd. Alan Rask was P24. Todd Herner was on your quarter century mark. Andy T a lap down after having to take those repairs, 26. We'll see if maybe he'll return and stick with it. I'd love to see him stick with it because he certainly seems fast, just maybe not as quick as some of our top drivers, at least for now. Stephen Koenig, 27th. Morera, with a penalty for connection issues, was 28th. Nizami was 29th, and Virumaki only 30th today, 5 laps down. The rest of our cars ran into issues today. Dixon, Blair, Moreland, Cineros, and Samari seem to be mostly DNFs for our finishers. As we have our driver coming home in P2, Pauli Partsinen, ready to chat with us. Now, Pauli, we were kind of looking at the chatter. You're saying, according to your math, that Topi is mathematically still in this?
Yeah, I think so, because he has like one race that he has super low points, and if he wins the next race, I think he will be having more than me. So I think it will be, if Topi wins next race, he's a champion, and if I win, I will be a champion. So it will be super close.
Ooh, so pressure is on. Knowing that you had struggles today keeping up with him, does that give you any worry when we go off to Bathurst, or is that a track where you feel like you can match him?
Yeah, I have worried about last month. Topi is super good. Like, he has found some amazing pace. I cannot really beat him. And like today, I knew that I have nothing against Topi, so I was trying to make a super brave dive to the first corner, and I failed badly. So there was that. So I think next week I just have to be first after first lap, and then it's just defending battle. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Outside of the championship fight, though, the return of Andy T. How cool is that? Have you guys had a chance to chat with him?
Yeah, not much, but we sent few messages with him, and I'm super glad to see him back. He's super good driver, and like today he was P1, but had a bit of bad start, and I think he collided with Jack or somebody else on the first corner, and I don't know, maybe Andy would have won today, so if he didn't have any damage, so would have been great race. So hopefully we'll see him next week also.
That makes sense why he seemed off the pace. We were curious why he looked so rusty, but focusing on you, congratulations on second place. We'll see who comes out on top next week.
Thank you.
Pauli Partsinen P2 here today. And I believe Craig has caught up with our winner, Topi Korteniemi.
Yeah, I've got Topi Korteniemi. A great victory out here, Topi, today. But the question I've got to ask is, are you happy it didn't rain out there today and it was a dry race?
I was expecting for a rain. It would have made it so much more fun than just hot lapping alone.
Yeah, it looked a very, very quiet day for you in the Glacier Racing car out there, because once you got ahead, you just found some pace. And Pauli was saying that this season you've had a lot of pace out there and just been a little bit untouchable. Is there any secret to it? Is it just practice, and more practice?
I think it's the right kind of practice. I do what Andy T, who was racing today, said some years ago, that just try consistency, and when you get consistency, you can tweak the setup, and when you can tweak the setup, you can make the car fast, and then you're fast in quality too. So.
Yeah, so it was great. We've all been talking about the return of Andy T, and everyone's really happy to see him. But one race to go. It is Mount Panorama, and you are still in with a shot here for the championship. Your thoughts, because that's not a track a Formula car should be going round. That's going to be a very, very tense battle.
It's going to be. I remember the last time, I think it was a year ago, me and Pauli and was it Marco Sanfilippo battle for the win. It was a win or win back then, and it will be next week.
Well, all we know, it's going to be an interesting battle between two Finnish drivers for the championship next week. Topi Korteniemi, once again, congratulations on another victory this season. And we look forward to seeing that clash in Bathurst.
Thanks, Greg.
Topi Korteniemi there, Joe, coming home for the victory. And I believe you may have Togo Hisada alongside you for just the final interview.
Indeed. And speaking of final things, last lap, last corner, Togo. I was a bit critical in the broadcast, saying I feel like you should have tried to beat him to the line with the slipstream, but you're the one in the car. What are your thoughts on your last move?
Yeah, I'm definitely aim to slipstream and pass on the very last moment, but I slipped up the penultimate turn, left hander and the overheated tire. So I realized that I have nothing traction to challenge him on the very last corner. So changed the mind and the diving side. That's it.
We heard Topi say that he was actually kind of sad that they didn't have rain today because there was the threat. Were you hoping for rain, or were you glad it was a dry race?
At least I have no experience with rain with this truck. So yeah, I think dry is better for me today.
That makes sense. Well, commiserations that it wasn't higher up, and that it sounds like the championship may have been settled for you, but congratulations on a podium.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was Togo Hisada finishing in P3 today. Well, it seems like we had our fun, but it's time to wrap today's broadcast up. And got to say, Craig, this still provided plenty of action despite the dryness.
Despite the dryness, it still provided. We knew it was going to. These cars love the little draft battles that you get. You look at Monza, you look at Mexico when we went to Historic. Now you look at this, just straights on straights. Everybody loves it. And to be fair, when you think about it, where else do you go for more straights here, Joe? We've talked about it before. We got to talk about it again. Mount Panorama, there are two massive straights that can really make a difference next week.
Exactly. That'll be December 7th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for the finale. Quite the place to choose and have settle the championship. But let's not forget, that's not the only race on the Global Sim Racing channel. If you're watching on there, we've got Porsche Owners Club going to Mugello tomorrow night for that one. A big thank you, of course, to our team, Craig, Christian, and Dougie. But don't forget not just to subscribe, but also to go subscribe to iRacing itself. 50% off if you're a new member, 25% off if you are renewing and reactivating your account on iRacing. Craig, thank you once again for coming in and joining us on this one. Sadly, I won't be there for the finale, so I'm hoping you have fun over in Australia.
If it's me, definitely. We're going to have a little bit of a barbie. We're going to have a bit of fun down there. Might be crying because the Australians might be just dominating the English, but one of these Finnish drivers will be dominating the championship. That's going to be fun to watch. Once again, Joe, for the third season in a row, championship comes down to the final week.
I love it when that happens in the Lotus 79s. That's a testament to the close competition and why you should tune in each and every week. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.